Hello everyone and welcome to the Irish contribution with respect to Global CE Day. CE, Clinical Engineering Day, is where we celebrate together and recognise the contributions from Ireland and our fellow colleagues throughout the world in promoting and recognising our profession, our roles and its contribution towards patient care. So with me I have Leighton Curry. Leighton, if you could give us a little bit of your background, that would be really good.
Sure. Good morning, Peter, and thanks for having me today. I've been a clinical engineer here in Tallaght University Hospital for nearly 17 years. I've worked in the medical device and clinical engineering field for almost 22 years. My background is in electronics, audio, engineering design and patient data and computer science.
Thanks, Leighton. And your hospital, your type of hospital in the acute system in the Irish healthcare structure, where does it fit in?
Well, it's I suppose we have a very dynamic hospital here. We are currently expanding at quite a large rate and progressing and developing as a site and a campus for patient care. Currently, aside from the pandemic issue, we are bringing on stream a couple of new initiatives and expansions of patient services in the hospital. We will have one of the single biggest renal dialysis units coming on stream now in the next couple of weeks. And that will give a capacity of almost a 300% increase on current operations. It's a bespoke unit. It took approximately 18 months to build, and it will meet the demands and clinical requirements of patients here in the Greater Dublin area for many years to come. In addition to that, we've also embarked on a new initiative, which is the first of its kind within Ireland. So the hospital has partnered up here with a company that will supply a turnkey solution to give additional day surgery facilities to the hospital, so that we can maximize patient service delivery, but also minimize waiting times. So the intention here is to reduce patient waiting times very significantly in a very short space of time. So there are two of the
excellent
larger projects that we have here at the moment.
That's brilliant. Sounds really, really exciting in terms of changes and improvement for patient care, etc. Leighton, could you just maybe give us an overview as to your BEAI activity? I know, for example, that you're the main lead, the convener of the ICT committee. If you maybe give a bit of background to the ICT and its workings.
Sure. So I suppose that the BEAI has progressed and developed as an organisation quite significantly over the last number of years. As part of that, over 2 years ago now, we identified that there was a need to subcategorize the workload and spread it out a little bit more and have more defined roles for subcommittees. One such subcommittee was an IT subcommittee, which I currently convene on behalf of the BEAI. That subcommittee deals with all the website issues, all the GDPR issues, development of new technologies that we incorporate into our website, our transaction processes on how we manage and deliver products to our members. So in terms of membership, in terms of CPD events and how we publicize those and how we manage those transactions online. So the subcommittee deals with a wide variety of issues that are brought to a resolution, and then those resolutions are put forward to the executive for final sanction.
Great, thanks very much. You must be very busy. I know it's quite a dynamic committee. So the BEAI is the Biomedical Clinical Engineering Association of Ireland. And stepping from there, Leighton, back into the acute setting. The acute setting over the past 7 months has been quite intense in Ireland. And I'm imagining that it's been just as intense in Tallaght Hospital. Can you maybe give us a little bit of an overview as to how you would have contributed over the past 7 months and assisted in patient care?
Sure. So I suppose there was a lot of unknowns for everybody. There was a lot of unknowns for us as clinical engineers. What we did know was that we were going to need an awful lot more medical equipment and devices on hand. So what we set about doing at a very early stage was to try and identify what were the key areas of care that were going to be required and what equipment was needed to provide that care. So it became very apparent very quickly from what we'd seen happening across Europe and globally that we would require a huge amount of additional respiratory support equipment, specifically ventilators and portable ventilation aids and equipment, additional monitoring. And after that, we were looking at smaller items and items that might assist on a not such an acute scale. So that we done that, we planned for that, and our goal and aim at all times was to stay ahead of clinical demands for medical equipment and devices, and to have as much of that equipment readily available at as short a notice as was coming to us as the dynamic situation unfolded and evolved. Since then, things have evolved further. We're into what would appear to be a second wave of activity with the pandemic. And I suppose what we've seen now is a different demand for different equipment. We've resolved and planned and made sure that there is sufficient ventilation available. We also looked at our plant supply here in the hospital and its capacity to deliver, and what we set safe limits on that to ensure that we weren't going to reach a bottleneck in terms of what could be achieved and when we would put the whole system into jeopardy. Because it's important to remember that no hospital, I don't think anywhere in the world, has actually been prepped for capacity issues that we have seen and the potential capacity issues that we may yet see. So that kind of brought us back to what we could provide in terms of ventilation simultaneously. So we reached a number of 45 ventilators where we could safely deliver to 45 patients simultaneously on campus here. Part of the evolution of backup and supply since then has to put in a secondary pipeline as a fail-safe, and that work is ongoing at the moment. And then in terms of equipment, we've seen a change in demand where the patient profile seems to be a little bit different now. So there's a need for less complex medical devices, more monitoring devices at a lower level. And again, we're working with the HSE to ensure that we stay ahead of that demand and requirement.
That sounds great. Really, really energetic work from the Tallaght Hospital clinical engineers. Leighton, I'd just like to thank you and your colleague Robert and all of your team in the contribution that you are making on a day-to-day basis, bearing in mind that the BEAI is an organisation purely driven by hospital-based clinical engineers and their industry counterparts and associates. So thank you for sharing that. I'm looking forward to having more Irish hospital contributions so that we can share en masse and contribute significantly to the Global Clinical Engineering Day coming up very shortly. Thank you. And may I also, on behalf of all the Irish clinical engineers, thank the IFMBE Clinical Engineering Division, the CED, the chairperson, Tom Judd, and also Yadin David, who've been very, very instrumental in bringing around the global CE Day, and Calleroy also, who is the person behind the scenes doing a huge amount of work that makes this event happen and is going to merge all the Irish contributions to this day. So thank you very much, Calleroy, Tom, and Yadin. And Leighton, thank you very much. I know there are tough months ahead, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much, Peter, for having me today.